Hi everyone, I'm reaching out for advice because I'm in a tough spot with my stepdaughter. I recently discovered that my husband, David, whom I've been with for 15 years, married for 10, was cheating on me. What's worse, my stepdaughter Stacy, who I've cared for as my own since she was 2, helped him hide it. David and Stacy's mother were never married. They had a brief fling that resulted in Stacy. Tragically, her mother passed away when Stacy was just 6 months old, and I stepped in as her mother figure. David made it clear early on that he wanted me to be a good mother to Stacy, and I embraced that role wholeheartedly. Our relationship had its challenges, but I believed in our love. After uncovering the betrayal, I decided to use Stacy's college fund for myself, filed for divorce, and left them both. Now, they're asking for reconciliation, and I'm torn. I need your help. What should I do? Your advice would mean a lot right now. Feel free to adjust this text to fit your video format and style. I had every reason to believe our marriage was solid. Just a couple of months ago, we were planning our 10th anniversary trip, and David seemed genuinely excited about it. People who cheat don't usually show that level of enthusiasm for family vacations, so his betrayal blindsided me. About 6 days ago, I received an email at work that shattered my world. It was from David's coworker, revealing that he had been having an affair with her for the past 7 months. The email contained detailed evidence, texts, calls, and even photos of them together on days he claimed to be on business trips. These trips were actually romantic getaways with her, something I had no clue about. I was in shock and rushed home to process everything. Stacy was out with a friend, and David was at work, so I had time alone to read through the devastating revelations again. The coworker had even provided her phone number, offering to talk if I needed more details. She confessed because she believed I deserved to know the truth, especially since David had been telling her he would come clean to me and end things because he wasn't comfortable with the affair anymore. This sudden disclosure left me reeling. I never expected this from David, and now I'm facing the painful reality of his infidelity. I'm lost and unsure of what to do next. Feel free to adjust this narrative as needed for your YouTube video or any other format you're using. He had assured her multiple times that he was going to be honest with me and leave our marriage to be with her. She even showed me screenshots of these promises. At first, she believed him, but as months went by with no action on his part, she decided to take matters into her own hands and reveal everything to me. After reading her email thoroughly, I needed time to process. I eventually mustered the courage to call her. I was still grappling with denial, hoping maybe talking to her would somehow make it all seem like a misunderstanding. She began by apologizing profusely, insisting she never intended to destroy my marriage. She explained that she had fallen in love with David, which compelled her to disclose the truth. She detailed how their affair started, its duration, and the promises he had made to her, eerily similar to the promises he made to me at the beginning of our relationship. Each word she spoke shattered my heart into pieces. I thought the conversation couldn't get any more devastating, but then she dropped another bombshell. Stacy, my beloved stepdaughter whom I've raised as my own since she was 2, had known about their affair all along and had been helping him cover his tracks. This revelation felt like the end of my world. In my mind, I had always been Stacy's mother, not just a stepmother. The betrayal from both David and Stacy left me utterly shattered. Feel free to adjust the tone or details to fit your narrative style or video format. His co-worker revealed that Stacy had been covering for him whenever he needed to lie or disappear, making up excuses for his absences and unanswered calls. In return, he showered Stacy with expensive gifts, which explained the sudden change in her lifestyle. David had been spoiling us both lately with jewelry and clothes, and I attributed it to his success at work, not realizing it was hush money. Learning that Stacy had been complicit in this betrayal, even meeting his affair partner multiple times and keeping it all secret from me, shattered me even more than discovering David's infidelity. After that devastating phone call, I couldn't bear to stay in our home any longer. I packed my essentials and left, unwilling to wait for their return and face them in that house. Feeling utterly betrayed and unable to stop crying, I drove to a hotel out of town and turned off my phone. I didn't want anyone to contact me. I spent that night drowning in sorrow, trying to numb the pain. The next morning, when I finally turned my phone back on to call in sick to work, I was overwhelmed by a flood of texts and missed calls from David and Stacy. Despite their attempts to reach me, I couldn't bring myself to respond. Feel free to adjust the details to fit your narrative style or video format as needed. Amidst the chaos, I noticed an unread text from the guy at the car dealership I'd been in touch with about buying a new car. I'd been holding off on the purchase to save more money for our upcoming anniversary trip and Stacy's 17th birthday. I had even considered gifting her a car instead of getting one for myself. Seeing that text reignited my anger. In a moment of impulse, I decided to prioritize my own happiness. I drove down to the dealership and bought myself a shiny new luxury car, something I hadn't planned due to its expense. Thankfully, over the past decade of marriage to David, I diligently saved for Stacy's college fund. Originally meant as a surprise for her when she decided on a college, I now had no interest in surprises. Using the money from Stacy's college fund, I treated myself to the luxury car. With determination, I drove it home and finally confronted David and Stacy. They attempted to hug me, but they looked visibly worried as soon as I arrived, but I didn't give them a chance to speak. I immediately confronted them, stating that David's coworker had reached out to me, revealing the full truth of their betrayal. I expressed my deep disappointment in both of them. David at least remained silent, knowing there was no denying the truth. Stacy then tried to explain herself, claiming she was trying to protect her father and was confused about what to do. She cried, insisting she loved us both equally and wanted us to be happy. However, I couldn't accept her excuses. I believed she was old enough to understand right from wrong, and her acceptance of gifts from her father to stay silent only confirmed her complicity. I made it clear I didn't believe a word she said. Furious and hurt, I announced my decision to leave David then and there. It wasn't a decision I took lightly. No one could endure such betrayal without taking action. More than David's actions, I expressed deep disappointment in Stacy. While spouses may cheat, I had always expected loyalty from her. Despite not being related by blood, I loved her as my own daughter, perhaps even more. Her betrayal cut deeper than anything her father had done. I made the painful decision that the college fund I'd diligently saved for Stacy over the years was no longer something she deserved. After conveying this, choking up with emotion, I left without giving them a chance to explain. This family had been mine for 15 years, so walking away was heart-wrenching. I returned to the hotel, ignoring their desperate calls and messages. They even followed me out, likely spotting the new car I'd bought, and left quickly thereafter. For the past 5 days, they've bombarded me with texts and calls every hour trying to reconnect. Emotionally overwhelmed, I've read their messages but haven't responded. David initially pleaded for forgiveness, but realizing it was futile, he shifted to apologizing, acknowledging I deserved better. He pleaded for leniency toward Stacy, emphasizing she was just a child who shouldn't suffer for his mistakes. Stacy, too, reached out, apologizing profusely, claiming to see me as her mother and expressing deep remorse. I've been wrestling with my emotions and haven't been able to block them, but I'm unsure how to respond. Their remorse feels genuine, but the pain is still raw. Then yesterday, I received a text from David that really angered me. He said he was tired of apologizing without any response and demanded to know if I intended to return to the family or not. His tone was infuriating, considering it was his actions that caused all this. I immediately replied, stating I had already spoken to a lawyer and filed for divorce, though in reality, I was still processing everything and hadn't taken those steps yet. He didn't need to know that at the moment. An hour later, he responded with a lengthy message accusing me of selfishness and painting me as the villain for my decision. He claimed he was okay with me leaving him, but accused me of abandoning Stacy, revealing she had been devastated since I left. He emphasized how my decision not to give her access to the college fund I'd been saving for her had deeply affected her. Apparently, he had known about the fund but hadn't saved any money himself, assuming Stacy would use it for her out-of-state college plans. I had mentioned the fund to him before, intending it as a surprise for Stacy's future. Now, their lack of financial planning had put them in a tough spot. Stacy's college plans have become even more expensive, and she's likely to be accepted at her college of choice. However, there's now uncertainty whether she can afford it due to financial constraints. David believes I'm being unfair by denying Stacy access to her college fund, which I'd saved up with the intention of eventually giving it to her. He thinks I'm selfish for using this mistake against her, especially after seeing my new car. He believes I should reconsider. I feel conflicted. While I don't want to punish Stacy or be the kind of person who takes things away to teach a lesson, she's not a child anymore and knew her actions were wrong. She's disappointed me deeply, and denying her tuition doesn't feel entirely unjustified. I'm unsure. Should I have told Stacy I wouldn't pay her college tuition after learning she helped cover my husband's affair for expensive gifts? Update 1. Hey everyone, apologies for the silence these past 2 weeks. Work and legal matters have kept me incredibly busy. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post and offered support. Your kindness means a lot to me. Knowing strangers were supporting me made everything easier. After David texted and I posted about it, I decided not to engage further. Most comments advised blocking him and filing for divorce quickly, so I did just that. Within days, I consulted a lawyer and filed. I've also decided that even if I were Stacy's biological parent, I wouldn't fund her dream college after what she did. You can't betray someone and expect a smile. Age and relation don't change that reality. David's claim that Stacy's being punished for his actions isn't true. She faces consequences for her choices, as I told them during our last conversation at home. I refused her access to the college fund because she didn't tell me about her father's affair. It's a fair decision. They can be angry, but I won't engage. I've blocked them, cutting off all contact. Despite this, they keep trying to reach me through calls. I've been bombarded with calls from different numbers, texts from various sources, and emails from fake accounts, but I simply read them and ignore it all. Update. I finally got word about the divorce, and thankfully David isn't contesting anything. I hope we can have a peaceful and amicable split. It's been almost 3 weeks since I found out about his affair, and life has changed drastically. I stayed in a hotel until last week, but it was becoming too expensive. Despite having the means to stay longer, I didn't want to waste money, so I moved in with a friend who generously offered me a place until I find my own apartment. I'm also considering therapy, as my friend, who is a licensed professional, believes it will benefit me in the long run. The biggest change is that I've quit my job. It's significant because I've worked continuously for over 20 years, starting right after college. I've been saving diligently for a decade, and now it's proving invaluable. I'm contemplating taking a few months off to recalibrate my life and pursue starting my own business, a long-held aspiration I delayed until Stacy was out of the house. I used to worry about money for Stacy's college, but now I'm free to pursue whatever I want. I plan to spend these months building a business model, seeking investors, and diving into all the details. Despite still feeling upset about everything, I'm incredibly excited for the future. I've spoken to my parents about the divorce, a step I hadn't taken earlier as I was still processing it. Now that I've shared it on social media, I've kept the details private, simply stating that I'm getting divorced. My close friends and family understand what's going on, and their support is all that matters. Life has been complicated, but with the divorce proceedings starting and a mediator meeting scheduled in a few days, I hope to bring closure and move forward for good. Update 3. Hi everyone, David and I are meeting with the mediator tomorrow. It feels strange after almost a month of no contact, as if I wasn't already nervous enough just half an hour ago. Stacy emailed me. She hadn't reached out in over 2 weeks, and I assumed she wasn't interested in talking anymore. I expected her email to be about college tuition or something similar, but to my surprise, she sent a heartfelt apology. It seemed genuine, as she didn't mention the funds or anything monetary, just expressing her deep regret. She apologized sincerely for her actions, admitting she was selfish and hadn't considered how hurt I would be when I found out. She acknowledged that her betrayal hurt me more than David's actions did, and she wasn't sure if she could ever make things right. However, she genuinely looked up to me as a mother and truly loved me. She clarified that while she accepted gifts from David, she knew they came with strings attached and felt manipulated by his affair partner into keeping quiet. She insisted her silence stemmed from confusion and loyalty to her father, even though she knew he was wrong. I'm torn. Part of me wants to believe her, to accept that she was manipulated into silence. Yet, after everything, I'm unsure. Her email only added to my anxiety and confusion. I miss her deeply, and I miss David too, but I realize I need to learn to live independently. I've learned the hard way not to trust easily, even those closest to me. So, I've decided to maintain the no-contact rule. Since the last update, the divorce will be finalized in a couple of weeks, marking the end of this chapter. Negotiations were straightforward, but facing him during meetings stirred up a mix of anger, hurt, and profound sadness. Despite these emotions, I managed to get through it, and now I'm done. I've found a new apartment and moved in by myself. It's been a few weeks, and I've appreciated the frequent visits from friends and family checking up on me. Their support means a lot, though I know these visits will taper off over time. Adjusting to single life is a process, and I'm still coming to terms with it. Therapy has been a significant step forward. It'll take time to fully accept and process everything that's happened, but I'm committed to that journey. I've maintained no contact with David since our last mediation session. Regarding Stacy, after initially hesitating to trust her explanation about feeling manipulated, I recently replied to her email. She continued to reach out, updating me on her life without mentioning the college fund or our past issues. It felt like a one-sided conversation, with her trying to reconnect, but I'm navigating this cautiously. I initially shut her out completely, but each time I received an email from her, my heart broke anew, and tears followed. Despite her updates being about normal things in her life, I deeply missed her. So I finally reached out, expressing how much I missed her, and that was all. I maintained my stance about her not receiving the college fund. Her response surprised me. She said she didn't mind not getting the money, feeling she didn't deserve it anyway. She'd decided to attend a local college, forgoing her dream school to avoid burdening her father with student loans. Even if she'd asked him to co-sign a loan, she believed he would have refused. They would manage with what they had, and her father promised to assist as much as possible, though she'd also work her way through college like many others. Since then, we've exchanged emails. I expressed my desire to rebuild our connection, but explained I needed time to process everything that had happened. She understood completely, acknowledging that she'd betrayed my trust and allowing me all the time I need. I don't know what the future holds from here, but I'm hopeful for the best. Fingers crossed.